At least 8 councillors in the eThekwini metro are now under 24-hour protection for the next 3 months after receiving death threats. Speaking to Newzroom Afrika this morning, the council speaker, Mbanyele, said councillors are living in constant fear for their lives.
Now, they fear for their lives. Most of them now, it's difficult to attend meetings in the afternoon or evening, because whenever they go back to their houses, they are scared, because the operation, they are normally attacked when they enter their premises. Most of them, they are affected. Now, it means a councillor cannot now freely move in his or her ward in doing his job. Now, it affects their work, and communities are not getting now the service that is required to be provided by a councillor because of this threat.
Joined now by Good Governance Africa researcher Stuart Mbanyele. Stuart, good evening to you and thank you for your time. I realize this is a simple question, but I don't think there's a simple answer. Why is there so much violence in local government at the moment?
Hi, Stephen, and hi to viewers. I think this is a very impossible question, but then I think ultimately it boils down to access to employment opportunities, access to the levers of the municipal forces and stuff. So people really fight for these positions. And in a country where the unemployment rate and inequality is so perverse, I think being a councillor provides a route to an insurmountable amount of resources and power. So people go to extreme lengths to have access to that, and that ultimately results in an extensive amount of violence which takes place at the most local level of government, where the positions are sort of cashed in.
In a strange way, I worry that we've lost our ability to be shocked. In 2015, which was possibly the first time we saw violence and disruptions in a legislature, it was in the National Assembly, we were shocked. Now, when there's going to be a City of Joburg Council meeting, we expect a disruption. That tells us that something has changed dramatically in the last 6 years.
Absolutely, but I think violence has been a constant feature in the local government landscape. But I think given that the national focus is always on the business and shenanigans in Parliament, and now to an extent in provincial legislatures, but local government has been a site of violence since the start of democracy. This has been particularly concentrated in KZN. I mean, in the last 2 decades, out of all political assassinations, attempted political assassinations in South Africa, 90% of those have involved local councillors. I mean, the most notable incident was in 2017 with the death of the ANC former prominent youth league member Sindiso Makata, which sort of thrust the issue into the national spotlight.
So how do we change the culture? And I mean, there's so many different factors here. I mean, I would imagine that if there was one dominant party like we had 15, 20 years ago, we might not have this culture of violence. If we had a situation where there were other opportunities outside politics, we might not have this violence. None of those things are easy to change.
Yeah, I think violence is an inherent feature of South African society, and it has festered and played out in different ways throughout our history and throughout democracy. But I think now that's a very difficult question you're asking in terms of how this can be stopped, considering how we've recently, as seen in the local government elections last year, where the ruling party has lost its chunk of the majority. So now that means that the jostling for positions and access to those positions becomes more hotly contested, and people will resort to extreme lengths to sort of secure the seats. And now we're entering the silly season of election year inside the ANC internally. So now there's going to be huge contestations within the party. So the question of political violence will firstly need political will from within the party, and in municipalities that are run by coalitions, more coordinated responses from councils. But also, I think it speaks to how law enforcement institutions have been systematically hollowed out, and by default, they can't effectively respond to the situation. I mean, today you saw the Minister Mbanyele meeting with ANC Mayor in eThekwini Metro, where amongst other things, it was discussed that the councillors will receive private security at the expense of the councillors who are threatened will receive access to security on the cost of the municipality. So this speaks to a broader question of the ineffectiveness of the crime and justice system in South Africa, and particularly crime intelligence in thwarting and preventing and responding to these instances of threats to councillors.
Stuart Mbanyele, thanks very much indeed, researcher at Good Governance Africa. Really do appreciate the time.